Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Cinema Wave podcast here at the Culture Wave Media Network, and we are here to discuss our reaction to the Academy Awards 2025 edition, the 97th Annual Academy Awards. I am one of your hosts. My name is Darian Scalamoni. I am joined by Liz Seiko.
Hello, hello.
And also Zach Miller.
How's it going?
So let's start with, we put out a reel, I think either the day before the awards or a couple days before the awards. We picked all our predictions for the big awards, not that any are lesser than any of the others, but we picked our four winners for the acting awards. We had Best Director and we had Best Picture. Coming off those awards, we have Best Picture winner was Anora, Best Director was Sean Baker, lead actor was Adrian Brody, lead actress was Mikey Madison, and then supporting went to the two kind of overwhelming favorites, Kieran Culkin and Zoe Saldana. So just off the bat of that, Liz, what was your reaction to some of the bigger awards? And then we can get into the show overall and kind of everything that came with that.
Yeah, I mean, overall reacting, I don't think there was any like absolute jaw-dropping shocks. I mean, Mikey definitely, I think, took some people by surprise because, I mean, I was definitely a Demi believer, if I want to say. Like, I thought Demi had it in the bag. So Mikey is probably the only real big surprise. Some people I think are really shocked that Anora won Best Picture. I'm not fully surprised just because of I don't think I've heard of anybody that's seen it that completely disliked that film, which is big versus a lot of the other contenders that names are being thrown. Some people are like, really not my favorite. So I'm not surprised that it won. But yeah, that's my overall. I mean, I feel like all of these were very fitting, very awarded, like deserved awards.
Zach?
Yeah, I guess the only one that like kind of shocked me was Mikey's, just because I think there were just looking at the list again, I think that there were a couple other frontrunners, like Demi Moore, even Fernanda Torres. I had like placing before Mikey, and not that she's not deserving, but I think that there were really two strong powerhouses in that category with her. So for her to take that was surprising, but deserving as well. So
I think best leading actress was definitely the hardest category across
I
the
think
acting categories. Like I think that could have technically been. I'm trying to remember. I know Demi, Mikey, Fernanda. Who were the others?
Cynthia
Erivo,
and
Carla. So Carla kind of took herself out of the race entirely. Yeah. And Cynthia, I think, had a lesser shot, especially because I think Cynthia is going to be in consideration, obviously, at next year's Academy Awards as well for Wicked for Good. I was actually asked by somebody, I don't know if either of you guys know the answer to this. Has anyone ever been nominated or won, like once or not, for playing the same character? Not like so, like multiple people have, no, but I don't mean like different actors playing the same character. Like if Cynthia gets nominated, she's going to get nominated for playing Alphabet twice. Have we ever seen that before in the Academy Awards? Do either of you guys know? I could do the research on it. I was just curious because I was thinking to myself, I'm like,
I don't know.
That is an interesting question because Ariana obviously got nominated for Best Supporting for Glinda as well. I don't know what's coming. You know what's coming, obviously, as a huge fan. But like, I just started to think about that, and I'm like, that's a very interesting perspective. Like, even in terms of things with Dune, right? Like, Dune's now been nominated multiple times for a lot of technical awards. No acting nominees. Maybe they'll get there for Messiah, but then after that, they're not going to do, I think, another Dune movie with all the lead people anyway at that point. So, like...
Yeah, I'm trying to think of, like, franchises. Like, what?
Like, Lord of the Rings would be the one off the top of my head that might happen. But
I don't think it did.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Like Angela Bassett was nominated for Wakanda Forever, but she wasn't nominated for the first Black Panther. So probably not. So that might be an interesting wrinkle to kind of follow, even though we're thinking a year ahead now. But going back to that.
Well, it could have affected a lot of people's voting too, of like, oh, she'll have a chance later.
That's a fair point.
I think that happened with a lot.
Same thing could happen with Dune.
Yeah, I think that also affected a lot of people for Ariana, that they were like, oh, we have her coming again next year. And it's her first thing that we've ever seen her in.
Yeah, and she was nominated after one acting performance, which is kind of crazy.
It was incredible.
Well, not that she hasn't acted before, but in a more mature and prestigious kind of sense. Mikey was not a surprise to me, but I do think that, and I was talking a little bit off screen about this. Demi, for me, though she's fantastic in the movie, so much of that role is half the work by one performer, half the work by another. and it's the same character, one playing a younger version or a different alternative version of who she is. And I think even I had an inkling that the fact that Margaret wasn't nominated at all gave me a sense that Demi was not going to win, because I felt like, not that you can't look at it as like, oh, like they both played it differently, obviously, but I think it's harder to put Demi's performance up against Mikey doing what she did for the entirety of the movie, when Demi is playing just kind of the older version of that character. Though I thought she probably did a better job, or a more nuanced job, than Margaret did. But to me, I didn't think she had as good of a shot as a lot of people thought. And I also feel like, when we talked a little bit before we started recording, like give like the actor, the shown actor, like give him a chance, and they get, usually the Oscars do not do that very often.
What do you mean
like,
by that?
All right, so for example, like I think about like Mickey Rourke for The Wrestler, someone that had been overshadowed for a very long time, didn't win the Academy Award, won the Golden Globe, didn't win the Academy Award. Sylvester Stallone, Creed, same thing, was the front runner going in, everybody thought he was going to win, won the Golden Globe, didn't win the Oscar. Mark Rylance did. I had the same feeling with Demi Moore. And I think that it's going to lead to more and better opportunities for her to do more prestigious things going forward, and where she'll get these hopefully bigger and better roles as she ages up and starts to play different characters. But to me, it was Mikey's to lose. Like, I mean, she's the titular character of the movie that obviously winds up winning Best Picture. So that wasn't as much of a surprise to me. I was surprised about Adrian Brody, but I know nobody else was. But I haven't seen The Brutalist, and you guys both have. So that's probably my leg to, like, I have no leg to stand on when it comes to that.
Yeah, I was honestly a little surprised by how confident some people were that Timmy was going to win. Because although I thought his performance was incredible, there was something about Adrian's performance that was a little bit more just
heavy lifting,
just Oscar worthy to me. I don't know. It was just really beautiful, his work. And like that film overall, although it's a fucking monster of a film, and like most people probably haven't seen it fully because of the time length, and that's kind of shot itself in its foot. His performance is just like really beautiful. And I know people are ripping like, oh, he won the Oscar like for the same practical role. Who gives a shit? Like, it's still beautiful work. And it's, how many years has it been? It's
been 23 years.
Yeah, that's a huge if it was like 5 years apart and he just played the same role, then of course that's a big jump and like a big age gap to be playing this.
I think the interesting thing with him is just the trajectory of his career since he won for The Pianist.
Yeah.
Like some people were talking about it on Twitter. For anyone who's a sports fan, the sports reference that was made was he's basically Eli Manning. He has 2 big games, and then everything else in his career has been very mid to not as great as other things. Like, obviously he's a staple in Wes Anderson's films. Yeah. But other than that, if you look at his filmography, like between The Pianist and now The Brutalist, like there's not a lot there. Like, he did like Peaky Blinders, he was great in. But other than that, he did a lot of like
King Kong. Come on.
After that, but then like King Kong is 20 years old.
So yeah, 2005. That's crazy.
That's crazy. So like in between that, he was doing a lot of like direct-to-DVD action movies, which is like shocking to say the least. I think Timmy's time is coming eventually. I think he might be in the same conversation next year for Marty Supreme, depending on what that movie is.
He's so booked and busy that it's not like he's just gonna have a drought for the next 10 years and we're not gonna see him. He's gonna be nominated again.
Yeah, I agree. But I guess I'll at least bring up the topic, and Zach, I know we were discussing it before we started recording, but longest speech ever, Mr. Brody. And I didn't like the way it was. I thought that when he got a little too snobby, it came off very pretentious, and it came off
like, oh, we cut the music, that part.
Not cut the music. It's not my first rodeo. I've been here before. It's a very like
snarky.
Yes. And it's not that he was. I don't know what his intention was. I don't think he had it with malicious intent. But being on a stage like that in front of a lot of your peers that may never get another nomination, to say, this is not my first rodeo. I've been here before.
Like, let me speak, bro. Let me speak.
He came off like a dick. I'm not going to lie. That's how it felt to me.
I do agree. I agree.
I didn't like it. Zach?
The man tossed his gum to his wife.
That was crazy. No, that was crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy. That was nuts.
It wasn't even a good toss.
No.
She caught it.
No, she didn't. It fell to the ground.
It fell to the ground.
And then she had to pick up that gum off the carpet.
It's awful.
Awful.
Crazy. Awful. So, like, I don't know. That speech just didn't. for it to be the longest, like it was also not a good speech. It was just word salad of like all these little things that somehow connected to the movie and other things that were just like have something prepared, man. Like it was like 5 seconds in between each beat of just something that he was trying to say, and I could tell he was trying to say something so profound with each sentence. I think that's what got me the most is I'm like, just thank your colleagues, thank Brady for getting you here, giving you this performance, you know, all the people in your life, that kind of thing. Like everyone else kind of hit that for the most part in the night. And yeah, you know, it's Oscar speeches are interesting. Like when they're good, they're really good and people take notice. And when they're good and they're thankful, like nobody thinks twice. But when they're bad, everybody puts you on watch, you know, like and that just kind of took the wind out of the sails for that award for me. Like I was happy he got it and Coleman was my pick, but it didn't feel like it sat well with me after that.
Yeah,
I said it was a long ass film. It was a long ass.
It was, and it came at a time where it was already a long ass night, and then there were issues with Hulu, and I mean, I watched. Did we all watch it on streaming?
I watched it on Hulu.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll go through my like. I tried to turn the television on at 7 p.m. and log into Hulu, and it would not allow me to log in. I tried 4 different times. I tried logging in from my phone. I tried logging in on my laptop. Couldn't work. So by the time I finally got it up on my laptop, I was on, I guess, ABC.com's streaming.
Yeah.
So I missed the whole opening monologue, and I missed the whole Wicked opening thing.
Me too.
I did go back and watch Wicked. I haven't had a chance to see the monologue, which sucks because I love Conan, and I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on it. But like to me, I think Conan is the perfect host for the show, and he should do it every single year because he's a writer. He's been in television. He's been in film. He has a deep appreciation for it. You could tell there were certain things that were definitely his ideas. I love that he thanked the craftspeople in the beginning of the show for the importance of what they mean to the industry. I love that for the first time in I don't even know how long we had almost no politics on an award show, which is great. Not to say that people should speak their piece, but like it's refreshing to just have a fun night and enjoy and laugh. I loved him as the host. I thought he did a great job, but the show too, like I just felt like it had a good rhythm this year, where in past years there's been like some weird moments. There were definitely some weird moments. I think Andrew Garfield and who was it? Goldie Hawn.
I loved them together.
No, I did too, but I felt like she wasn't like giving anything back. Like
she doesn't need to. She doesn't.
It just felt awkward. It felt awkward.
No, I loved them together. I loved it.
It felt awkward to me.
Not me.
But you, Conan O'Brien, what do you think?
Yeah, I thought it was good. I think for the host, they need to make the event not about them and just kind of like make it funny, make it entertaining, keep the like moments between awards lighthearted and keep just like the attention going. And I think he did. So yeah, I think he did a good job. Who did it last year? I don't remember.
Kimmel.
It was Kimmel again.
It's Kimmel all the time. That's why he had his lovely joke to Carla, which I thought was great.
No, I think he did really good. I could see them bringing him back for it. Yeah, he also didn't do anything like super crazy or controversial. I think he kept everything like pretty within a box without making people extremely uncomfortable, because it's also like
Ricky Gervais. He will never host the Oscars.
Which is,
ever.
I wish he would again.
I love him. Well, he's. I don't think he's ever done the Oscar. He's done the Golden Globes multiple times. I think that's because they're like, oh well, everyone's drinking, we can have fun with it. And then one year he just shit all over Hollywood, and they're like, we're never bringing this guy back. So I liked Conan though. Zach, what did you think of Conan as host? Dude,
Conan is one of my favorites too. I listen to his podcast a lot, and he just talks to a lot of people in the industry. He talks with Tarantino a lot. I listen to, I think he has 2 episodes of Tarantino, and you can tell he really enjoys talking about things that he grew up on, and it's been a staple for him just as much. And to host this event was really cool. Yeah, he's just got like a fun personality. He's always trying to keep the vibe high. He's got like quirky jokes here and there, but like he doesn't. I don't feel like he's just like fake about it at all. Like I feel like he's very genuine, and even if all of his jokes aren't perfect, I think he really tries to be the entertainer that the host is supposed to be.
Yeah.
So
I also feel like he did come up with a few on the spot,
100%.
right?
You could tell.
100%.
Or at least something he came up with on the day.
Yeah.
Where he was like, yeah, I think I might do this. I might try it. I think the Kendrick Drake joke was something that he tried in rehearsal, and they were like, I don't know if we're going to do this one. He's like, don't worry.
He's like, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
But no, I think that definitely, I mean, he made like a joke about what Timothée Chalamet was wearing. And so it's like, how would he know what he was wearing prior?
That's
so
true.
he definitely was just going with it.
Yeah. I've somebody had said this on Twitter, and I agree with this, because we're in such a weird, toxic time in life with social media and the way that like bullying can go on and things like that. And they were like, there's not a better self-deprecating comedian in the world than Conan O'Brien. Like, he makes fun of himself to degrees that like I love the one joke. It's such a little one, but like when he was like he goes, a complete unknown. What was it? It was
A
real
unknown,
pain.
a real pain,
a
and
real
no
pain and no
Nosferatu.
Nosferatu. 3 things that I was called walking in on the red carpet today.
Yeah.
And it's like,
And he's like, and only 2 are right.
yeah, it's just like, it's so great. Like, I think he was always my favorite late night host when he was on too. Like, I think that like Fallon wouldn't be able to do it. I mean, Leno's very old at this point, and Letterman obviously doesn't want anything to do with anybody. So like, and we've seen it with Kimmel before and again. So I think it would be cool to see Conan return as host, but I thought he did a good job.
I do too.
One thing that I just noticed actually right before we started recording, which I think is an interesting kind of pivot point and something to talk about with this particular awards, is that 8 of the 10 Best Picture nominees won at least one award. So it was one of those years where there was not a predominant favorite. There was, and people are going to say it's Anora, and Anora won the most awards. It won 5. I think it won 5 of the 6 it was nominated. I don't know how many nominations it had.
I'll look it up.
But I know it won 5. Sean Baker broke the record for most wins for a single film in a single night with all 4. He won for editing, screenplay, directing, and Best Picture. And Mikey obviously won Best Lead Actress. Yura Borisov was nominated for Best Supporting Actor. Kieran Culkin winded up winning for A Real Pain. But I just thought that was an interesting tidbit, because it shows that even the Academy, which
They were nominated for 6.
they were nominated for 6, right? So they went 5 for 6. And I just think it's a telling kind of thing with the Academy, because there was a lot of controversy leading into the show with the anonymous voting, and a lot of comments that were made of people saying they didn't watch Dune and they didn't watch The Brutalist, and they weren't voting for this one. There were comments about how people apparently didn't vote for Ralph Fiennes because they thought he previously won for Schindler's List. He did not win for Schindler's List, but they voted for Adrian Brody because they thought he deserved it and he never won before. So there was a lot of controversy kind of along with that. But hearing Zach, just the fact that a lot of the films were kind of at least honored in some way, do you think that that's a good sign going forward in terms of the Academy Awards, or do you think it's something where it's always better for kind of the storyline to have that kind of predominant favorite?
No, I think it's good to mix it up a little bit. One thing I also took note of was that a lot of the winners this year were newcomers, except for like Adrian and Zoe. I feel like Sean Baker had his first nominations for Oscars. Kieran Culkin had his first nomination. Lowell Crawley had his first nomination. These are people who have been in the industry a long time. And I mean, Mikey Madison also had her first nomination. She's very fresh on the scene. And for the Academy to be recognizing newer people and newer stories, it shows a good segue to pass the torch and encourage new voices, new entertainers to come up. And it's nice that they have people like Ray Fiennes and Coleman Domingo and like Fernanda Torres. She's been in the industry. Demi Moore, she's been in the industry. So there's lots of people that got the recognition with the nom, but they also gave it to people who are equally as deserving, if not more deserving. And I think that it's important that they dice it up a little bit. Like, as much as I love Return of the King, having a 13 award sweep is kind of demoralizing. The whole night you're sitting there, you're like, really? Like, when's it gonna be our shot? It is kind of tough to work your whole life for that moment, and then it's all just going to one thing. And because it's like, what does 13 opposed to like 7 really mean to the film? It's still very award worthy. It just might not have been worth all of those extra ones. So I think it's good to spread it out where you can.
Yeah.
But
Liz?
I fully agree. I think that Yeah, I don't know. It just starts to get stale when it's like the same people going up there. And then also it's like, what do they say at a certain point? And when even like Sean Baker, I mean, I really enjoyed his speeches as he got like later on, like the one about going to the theater, I thought was really great. But it's also because he hasn't really had this opportunity or platform to be on a stage like that. So yeah, I think that the more diverse and the more films that get awarded, the better. Especially because certain films, like, I don't know, to award one film that many awards is crazy to me.
Yeah, I agree.
That's crazy. And also, I don't know, it also makes me seem like, okay, did they not watch any of the other films and like truly not think anything could compete against it?
Well, now I have that thought a lot more after hearing the anonymous Oscar
some of what
ballots
these
that people are like,
said.
no, which that's my honestly, like, the award show's one thing. Like, I thought it was an overall good. I actually think I put it in our group chat. I was like, feel like for the first time in a long time, my personal opinion, I thought that Best Picture the last 3 years in a row all went to the deserving winner. Now, people might disagree with that, but I just felt like, at least in terms of the show's biggest award, they've done a really good job. One thing that I do like, though, is that we're also seeing other films be at least recognized in certain like Nosferatu is a film that I don't think I love as much as everybody else, but I know I'm in the minority. And that movie at least garnered a good amount of nominations. Probably could have garnered more.
It was robbed. It should have won cinematography. I'm going to say that.
Probably.
Yeah. It should.
I mean, I didn't see, again, I didn't
loved
see
The
Brutalist, so.
but I don't know. Something about Nosferatu, it was just gorgeous. The Brutalist,
Is that your biggest robbery of the night?
For me, yes. Because I thought that was locked in. The Brutalist is definitely more heavy. It's like just because it's a bigger film, I get it. And like, I get it. The shot of like the upside down Statue of Liberty, gorgeous. But I don't know. The Nosferatu cinematography is just stunning. Chef's kiss, everything about it. So for me, I think that should have won.
On a sidebar, do you think that also plays into like how the Academy doesn't recognize horror? Like, do you think that that's just another problem? Like, because I felt like those were the two awards to win, like makeup and cinematography for Nosferatu. But
yeah, I mean, I think that it's still like a stigma with the Academy, anything that's horror related or gore. And so a part of me, they could be like, oh, well, we give them a nom.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's why Dune won too. Like they I mean, again,
they give the technical awards to the sci-fis and the big action flicks and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I can go on like an hour rant on why I think Dune should have been, like, the fact that, and you get Denis was mentioned like 4 times.
Oh my, so many people.
And it's honestly like one of, like, after you see the work that he did in that movie, it's like one of the shows I was watching today, they were saying like that they didn't think Sean Baker was deserving of Best Director, and they had said they thought that Denis or John M. Chu. And I was like, well, the reality is that I would agree with that, but neither one of them got a nomination. So what are you going to, at that point, like, you can't award it to somebody that didn't even get a nom. Right. Director, I know, was one that in our group chat we had discussed heavily about how we thought it was a very interesting pool of candidates this year. I'm sure many people share a very similar perspective on Emilia Perez. So that was one that I think at least Audiard could have been replaced by either Chu or Denis.
If Denis if he was a nom, do you still think?
I think he would have won.
You think
100%.
He should have won over Sean Baker?
100%. I think he won for Dune, or has he never won?
I think he's won for.
Oh, he wasn't nominated for Dune because I think Josh Brolin was the one. Didn't Josh Brolin come out during the press for Dune 2 and he was like, if Denis doesn't win Best Director at the Academy Awards this year, then I will quit acting.
Yeah.
He wasn't even nominated. Josh Brolin went on social media like the next day and he's like, I guess I'm leaving the industry. Like,
I think he's been nominated for Arrival. I don't know if
he was nominated for Arrival directing, but not for either of the Dunes.
Okay. What about Prisoners? Anything for Prisoners?
No. I think because Arrival, he did Prisoners, he did Sicario, and then I think Arrival was when they were like, all right. His filmography is remarkable.
Yeah. No, Arrival was his first nom. Then for Dune Part 1, it was adapted screenplay and Best Picture.
Yeah, as a producer,
And then Dune 2 is Best Picture.
Yeah. So, interesting year. I mean, there was a complete unknown didn't get a single win, though it had a good amount of nominees. I do think that might be a good thing. I'm a big fan of that movie, but at the same time, like, it's a very tropey movie. It's a movie that is based in the biopic sort of genre, and like looking back, my personal opinion, like I think like when I look back at some recent award winners, I'm like, oh man, Rami Malek winning for Bohemian Rhapsody. Did we go wrong there? And I like him, and I like him in the movie, but it's like there's certain things where like to me, if Timmy was in that category with him and they were going up against each other that year, I would have been like, I think Chalamet's way better in the movie, but. I do think it was still cool that Mangold at least got nominations. I think he's a great director. He's been another, like Zach was saying, he's been in the industry for a very long time, and he's done it. The coolest thing with him to me is that he just does all different types of movies. Everything he's done, like he did Copland in the 90s. He's done superhero movies. He's done biopics. He's done these epics. Like he's a name that should be recognized at some point. But I guess like the only other thing I can think about is really just talking about the Anora, like the supremacy of Anora, because I think a lot of people were kind of shocked a little bit that it was winning practically every award it was nominated for.
Yeah.
We're all New Jersey residents, so it's nice to see a Jersey boy get recognized. I remember getting like my mom called me after the awards and she was just asking me like my thoughts on it, and I was like, he's the guy who did Florida Project, and my mom's like, really? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, she hasn't seen Anora yet. I'm like, it's a very different movie, Mom. But he's somebody that like Zach has discussed this a lot too. Like he's a very grassroots indie filmmaker. And the fact that he's shined such a light on indie film in general, and the impact that like he did talk about obviously the impact on theaters, and he never intends to make a movie for streaming. It's an interesting thing. I do think that at the end of the day, the business side of it is a lot more complicated than that, and I hope it gets figured out.
Yeah.
Because I think the reality is there are some movies where people want to go. There are other arguments for like people saying, oh, well, we got to keep movies in theaters for 90 days. And it's like, well, if a movie is not selling, you can't keep it. There's no... it's hurting the movie if you're keeping it in theaters for 90 days and there's not a single person in the seats for days 70 through 90. You know what I mean? So I think there's a lot more to that conversation and things that need to happen and be in place. But I do think his message was a beautiful one, and
it was good too, because it's just like that. I was talking about it with some friends today too. It's a $6 million movie that toppled major blockbusters, big budget movies. And it's sending a good message to people to hopefully inspire them. And this was all independently financed too. And it was just picked up by a distributor. And he had recognition to his name already, but he makes movies for people that are like ourselves and authentic, original stories. So it's a good message to project out to people that we need more movies. We need big budget movies, we need small movies, we need medium tier movies, we need all different kinds of things. And experiencing that in the theater is equally as important. So the whole screen conversation too, that like this is a good milestone to open up that conversation more, because even if we have streamers and theaters, we have to have the conversation of like which films can we put where. If it really came down to it, like, can we afford to put action movies in theaters? Can we afford to do Anora's on streaming? Like that kind of thing. Is there a way that we can pick and choose and still keep something alive in theaters and distribution? So it's definitely important that an indie film can take a best picture is kind of crazy to me. And then a couple of years ago, Parasite, South Korean movie, no one would have ever seen that coming with best picture. It's like
Everything Everywhere All at Once too.
Yeah.
That's coming off of Swiss Army Man, and then doing a movie like that with Ke Huy Quan that hadn't acted in however many years, and finally giving Michelle Yeoh a deserving chance at a lead actor. Like, I agree. I think the biggest thing is trying to figure out again the happy medium with all this, and like you were saying, Zach, with the budgetary things with movies, I think is so important, and it's something that's not talked about enough. Cord Jefferson actually brought this up last year when he won the Screenplay Award for American Fiction. And it's like, we need to be able to welcome back that mid-budget movie. And part of I don't want to put blame on actors, but part of the reality of that is that some people are garnering salaries that they don't need.
Yeah.
Like we shouldn't be in a conversation where George Clooney, who I love, by the way, is arguing, no, I didn't make $30 million on that movie. And then it comes out that he made $20 million on that movie. Like it's still a lot of money for a movie that the budget's going to get ballooned because you won't do like, it's like they're losing their love for acting, or these movies aren't being made to give them the opportunity where like they're taking more money because they're like, well, I don't really love the script, but like if you bump up my salary another 10 million, then I'll do it. Why not?
100%. Well, I also think that, I mean, just some of the other films like The Brutalist, it was only 10 million was the budget, which is crazy because they have huge names like Felicity.
A Real Pain was like 3 million.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
I think I'm Still Here, I think was
like 750,000.
I think it was like 2 million, maybe less. I'm pretty sure. So I think it's also just showing the trend that we're going in because it's like, okay, right there, half of
1.5 million production budget.
Yeah, that's and they have a best
and
picture
it made $30 million.
Yeah,
highest grossing Brazilian film since COVID-19.
So I think it's showing that like the trend that it's the films are going in that people are enjoying, not more I guess, but equally to these huge budget are these smaller budget films that people are just passionate about the story and not necessarily the money aspects of it.
Yeah,
because half of our Best Picture nominees right there are small budget films.
Yeah, and the interesting thing too is that a lot of these, I was thinking about this recently because I know people were asking me leading up to it, people who are like more casual movie fans are like, oh, where can I watch these movies? You used to be in a period where around Oscar time, the campaigners would be like, let's put the movie back in theaters for 2 weeks to try to garner more of a
this year they dropped the ball.
Yeah,
you couldn't find them anywhere.
Out of the 10 Best Picture nominees, I believe that only 6 of them are available on streaming as of right now. Let's see. Anora isn't on Hulu till March 17th.
Right after. After the Oscar.
Exactly. The Brutalist is not on streaming. A Complete Unknown not on streaming. Conclave's on Peacock. Dune, I think, is HBO. It's a Warner Brothers movie. Amelia Perez, obviously Netflix. I'm Still Here, Not to Be Found. Nickel Boys, Nowhere. The Substance is on Mubi.
Yep.
Which is, I mean, it's an art house kind of movie, but it's you can't find it anywhere else. And then Wicked's on Peacock. So 4 of less than half of the Best Picture nominees.
And the other ones you have to pay to see, but then 2 of them are nowhere to be found. You literally, you can't find I'm Still Here anywhere, and you can't find Nickel Boys anywhere unless you're close to a city. Which I mean, we are, a major city, and so they have them in like very small art house movie theaters. But anybody that's like, I don't know, in the Midwest that wants to see these, that is like an up and coming filmmaker that wants to see the Oscars, they can't see these films unless they're not even available for pay-per-view, some of these.
I was gonna say too, Brutalist and Sing Sing were just 2 films that off the top of my head that got squeezed out at the end of the year just to barely make this qualification window for the Oscars. So they said, oh, it'll be in theaters December, whatever it was, and then it was only LA and New York.
Yeah.
So it's very limited, and it was only like 5 theaters in New York major, and then they had a whole release thing, and then it started to trickle into like big theaters in Jersey for us, and you guys didn't see it for a long time, and DJ, you haven't even seen it yet. So
Brutalist, I missed out on it. It was in theaters because I mean it's a whopper of a movie.
I waited until it came.
It was very hard. It was very hard for me to find 3.5 hours to kind of just put aside.
It is worth it. I think it's a really beautiful film.
I would like if they re-release it, I'll go see it in IMAX. I will. One of the other things I thought about is the fact that all of these, we're obviously in a period in Hollywood and in film where all these companies are like eating each other up, essentially, right? They're all conglomerates. Regardless whether that's whatever your perspective is, it's not a great thing. But why can't these companies come in and acquire these movies? Like there are movies that are going on, here's an example of a movie that you guys might be aware of, might not be aware of. There's a movie called Eden. It's a Ron Howard directed movie. Jude Law, Vanessa Kirby, I believe Ana de Armas might be in it. Sydney Sweeney. It played at film festivals, hasn't been acquired yet. What world do we live in which a movie with that many big actors that was made for a modest budget by Ron Howard, who's an Oscar winner, is not scooped up by any company to make money? Yeah. And I think about it too, like we love A24. We're big A24 fans here. If you're a cinephile and you're a fan of our podcast, you probably like A24. It was an interesting thing I noticed where they said, so A24 acquired Red Rocket, which was the last movie Sean Baker actually made in between Florida Project and Anora. And they basically did nothing for that movie. They kind of shoved it to the side. They couldn't market it. They didn't know what to do. And so he went to Neon, and look at what Neon was able to do with Anora. And I think that there need to be more film companies like that blossoming. But at the same time, to keep things afloat, some of those bigger companies are gonna need to step in. Like you're gonna need like the fact that like you were talking about the indie part, which I agree with, Zach. But at the same time, it's like if we want to kind of see the film industry keep blossoming, you're gonna need like again like these Fox searchlights to kind of keep popping up. You're gonna need like Disney had that whole
Sony Pictures.
Yeah, they had like Sony Pictures and Sony Pictures Classics. Like the big companies need to do that again. Like they need to have a prestige wing for these movies to get eyeballs on them because the industry is going to die otherwise, you know?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting too because like you're talking about a film that has all these big named actors in it and nobody picked it up. But then also we're at a point in the industry where it's so oversaturated. So much is coming out all the time and it's almost hard to keep up. So then it's like, how are they able to pick up all of these films when they're also making their own original content? They're producing their own films. Like it's coming to a point where there's just almost too much being made by too many sources and not enough like promotion is available for all these films.
I think that's a fair point.
I think
too.
you have to like gravitate then towards like making a limited amount of movies per year yourself. Like Netflix makes 20 movies a year, 10 movies a year, and then the rest is acquisitions, and then the rest is TV shows. Because then, or they can even make it like they make an art house side of Netflix where they go, these are our edgier films, these are up for awards season, or here's just like our awards section of like past nominees and that kind of thing. But yeah, so even when you were talking about Eden, I had no idea about that, but I think that's a perfect example where it's now an older movie, but that should get picked up by a streamer. You know, a streamer should be like, oh, we can distribute that. It's got talent. It's got Ron Howard. Maybe the asking price was like insulting to Ron Howard. Or
it also
too
doesn't
high.
look like it has the highest ratings.
Yeah.
It has
I will say
57 on Rotten Tomatoes.
I will say Netflix, to be fair, is at least one of the only streamers that is making acquisitions.
Yeah.
Like they don't like Amelia Perez, regardless of your thoughts on it, was an acquisition. That was not a movie that was made by Netflix. The movie was made first. They came to Netflix. They decided to acquire it. Like we're not seeing the other streamers do that. Like again, Hulu is owned by Disney. Like they need to start acquiring more movies. Like they have, I think they have a really high success rate with like documentaries. But it's like, okay, well, like expand your reach a little bit. Like go for a drama every once in a while. Acquire a comedy. Like I don't know. I understand what you're saying too, Liz, though, because we're so oversaturated. And I hope that I think TV had so much to do with that. Like we got to a point where, and I remember John Landgraf, who was one of the heads of FX, he was like, we are making 492 scripted series a year.
Yeah.
That's more than there are in the days in a year. Like, how is anyone going to be able to consume all of that? And
They're not.
We need to get to a point again where we are whittling down some of these 8 episode seasons of television shows because they want to tell their story in 8 hours. And we need to start making a 2-hour movie again.
Yeah.
We need to start making an hour and 50-minute movie again. Hour 45-minute movie again. Cut Queen over here.
Them.
She knows.
We love that hour and a half. Squeeze it in at nighttime.
Liz goes make it 60 minutes.
Come on.
I want to see Liz in a cutting room and she's just going, gotta be less, gotta be less.
Cut. Well, that's why I think so many people didn't see The Brutalist. Is it's a gorgeous film. So long and truly, I get it. It's an epic film. It's a certain tone that they were going for. There's an hour that can be just cut out of there because it's just architect after shot after shot that does not lead to the plot. But I get it. Brady was going for a certain tone. He wanted it to be an epic. So respect on that. But then you also have to know that people aren't watching 3.5 hour films.
Yeah, like even Anora, I just double checked. Like Anora and The Substance both are run around the same, 2 hours and 20 minutes. But the energy of those movies doesn't make it feel like 2 hours and 20 minutes.
No.
Now you could probably cut things out of both of those movies, but they're still almost 2.5 hours, but it doesn't necessarily feel like it. Again, I can't speak because I haven't seen The Brutalist, but everyone that sees it are at least like, you didn't need to be 3.5 hours.
No, there comes that last 2.5 hours. You start being like, oh, my back hurts a little bit. What are we doing right now? And then there's like about 45 minutes where you're just like,
Same
okay.
thing. Yeah.
And then it's like, boom, we're wrapping it up now. Blah, 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 blah. So they should have had me in that room with them.
They should have had you in the room, Liz.
Can I interject and switch topics to the Oscar awkwardness with like 3 sequences that stood out to me.
Liz,
So
lives for tea.
This is I mean, you guys witnessed it too. So if you had to rank the 3, let's say cringiest moments of the night. Okay, we have the Amelia Perez award winners singing, right? Okay. And then we have the In Memoriam sequence using the Mozart track, which was terrifying. Or when during the best animated short, the guy snatches his partner's phone and was like, I'm going to talk.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That was the most awkward for me.
Because I was literally like, what's going on right now? He takes it from her, is like, no, you're not saying it right.
She was saying it perfect.
Repeats exactly what she just said verbatim.
He goes, no, that's the second paragraph. Please let me read it.
And reads exactly what she just said. And she's low-key like, I know I just won an Oscar, but I'm so annoyed right now. You could just feel her energy being like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah. That was definitely the most awkward to me.
I don't know, that one or the Amelia.
Yeah, I would go that and then Amelia and then the In Memoriam. The In Memoriam thing was like morbid. But at the same time, it's like
it was beautiful, the singing.
Yeah, like
in a way,
no, it was well
gorgeous,
done.
But
yeah,
this is like I got up and danced to it.
Oh my god,
I'm a terrible person. I'm sorry, everyone. No, but I thought that like I don't know in the In Memoriam stuff, not that because I did notice it too, which is you don't want that. You don't want to be noticing how awkward or weird the music sounds when they're doing a sequence like that. But so much of my attention just like I always think about how. Which it's a hard thing. I'm not the producer of the show, so I can't speak to it. But it's like every single year there are people that are like, you left this person out. And that sucks. Mm-hmm. That's a hard thing. Like Tony Todd, who was in the original Candyman, people were talking about. Michelle Trachtenberg died literally the day before. Gene Hackman.
She's not a part of the Academy, though.
So is that what it is? You have to be a member of the Academy?
You're a member of the Academy.
Okay, but like Morgan Spurlock, I think he has an Oscar.
Bernard Hill.
Like there were people that were left out. So I mean, like, I just pay so much attention to the clips that I wasn't, I guess, as taken aback.
It is hard with the names. I think it really comes down to like they forget really big people or like really prestigious award-winning films, and then the people that were involved with them. It's tough, but yeah. So okay, they did a good job with it. They did a good job with the In Memoriam. The Mozart track left me feeling really uneasy. I thought a villain was about to blow up a city with a bomb. That's the type of music that has been associated with for movies for me. Like, and then everybody's lit in like dimly lit lighting, and I was like, "Yo, this is really unsettling right now for me."
It definitely was a bit awkward. I actually thought, not that it was a bad sequence, but the James Bond tribute, I don't understand.
It was a lot.
Why we did it? Like Barbara Broccoli and I forget her partner's name, but the two that had the rights to James Bond, like they sold off the rights to Amazon. It's not like James Bond died. You know what I mean? Like, and they were like, we need to do a fantastical musical tribute. And I thought pretty much everyone sounded great. We got to see our girl Lisa from The White Lotus, which was nice.
Margaret Qualley was dancing.
Margaret Qualley is the GOAT. I love that woman. But
it was just random.
It was weird. It was very it felt out of place in terms of the award show. I don't know why they did it.
Well, I'm also confused on why, like, I personally really enjoy when they do the original song performances. So there was some reason that we cut all those and instead put in all of these performances.
Well, they don't always do best original song every year.
I know, but I love that they started doing that, and like I think that they should.
I think it depends on the year.
I thought they did a really good job.
I mean, I like it's hard for me. Like I'd have to look and see even all the nominees this year.
But that's my point, because then everybody can hear the songs, because the majority of people don't know the songs unless it's some iconic one.
That's true. I do think part of it does come down to the fact that they also kind of want it to be a thing where they want everybody to feel comfortable doing it. So I feel like part of what goes into it might be that they ask people to do it if they want to do
I
it.
think Zoe was like, nah.
I definitely think that could be part of it.
She was just like, I refuse.
I also think,
that's the winning
Elton John,
song.
I will love Elton John. He's up there in age. I also think that could have been a factor.
He could have performed. Come on.
He could have, but maybe, again, the guy's like half blind now. Like, I don't know if maybe
doesn't stop him. Doesn't stop.
This is like, I want him on the stage.
I talked to him. This is like I talked to him.
I want him on wires
You know
in
what?
the air.
I just think that it's more relevant than like these random
Or Rocket Man himself.
dance breaks.
That I understand. That I get.
Or having Doja on there. Doja Cat was just very. I mean, she did a great job. She looked great, but I was just kind of like, why is Doja Cat here right now?
Yeah, I also thought that was weird.
The Bond tribute was like, it was good, but for them to do that much for just changing leadership and I get it. It also felt like if they're going on for this long, like, is the franchise dying? Is that what they're saying?
That's
like, this is it, like one last hurrah, but or like the anniversary, like I think with Skyfall they did 50 years of Bond, which was like, since the 60s, so that made sense. But yeah, it wasn't even an anniversary. It wasn't even announcing a new person coming in. There was nothing like.
It felt just out of place.
Just right. Yeah, it felt like somebody bought their time in. But
yeah.
I did love Queen Latifah though.
For Quincy,
I loved it.
I thought it was
great, except the audience sucked and nobody was dancing until literally
Coleman.
Coleman finally stood up at the last 2 minutes and was like, well, somebody's got to get this party started. But everybody was quiet. It's like, these are great songs. It was crazy.
It's just also the environment of the Oscars, I feel like, because at the Golden Globes, people are just like letting it rip. And I think that sometimes that's why I like the stuff with Kieran and like Robert Downey Jr. introducing his award. Like, you start to inject a little bit of fun. Like, you need to, at the end of the day, be like, that's why I think like even Timmy, like I was like hoping Timmy would win, because I'm like, Timmy's just got that good energy. I don't know. But it was.
I didn't think he was gonna win.
I just wanted him to win, but it's fine.
He's got
time. He's got time. Anything else that we think we need to cover? I feel like we went over basically the whole show.
I think pretty
good. So
no, Liz.
I don't really have anything. Oh, actually, you know what? I need to see Flo. I was upset the Wild Robot didn't win.
Yeah, I can't speak to it because everything I've heard is that Flo is unbelievable.
I haven't seen Flo, but like, I only saw the Wild Robot and I really loved it.
Well, so casual movie fans like my mom, who does like movies, but she doesn't see as much as obviously we do. She was one of the people. She was like, "I'm so surprised Inside Out 2 didn't win," and I was like, "No, it wasn't.
You're like,
it wasn't gonna
good.
win." I was like, "It wasn't gonna win. It already is the highest grossing Pixar movie ever. That's its win. It doesn't need to win an Academy Award as well." But yeah, I don't think there's really much else to say. Going to be interesting to see, as per usual, what happens with our nominees and our winners and what they go on to do next. There were some reports today that Mikey Madison already has multiple offers on the table.
I'm sure she does.
One of them is for a Greta Gerwig project. I don't know if that is Narnia. Or if that is maybe something entirely different.
She's Lucy.
Ooh.
The youngest girl.
Yeah. And then there was also a report that she has an offer in hand for Stay Away, Mikey, a Colleen Hoover adaptation. Stay away. Stay away, Mikey.
Just set your career on fire.
I do know. I do know that Adrian Brody has actually been in talks even before his win for some superhero fare. So again, not Liz's favorite, but I did hear that he may be up for a Marvel role. So we'll see what happens with that. But a lot of this stuff, obviously, it leads to them just getting bigger and better opportunities going forward. Kieran Culkin, curious to see what he might do next. And then Zoe. I mean, Zoe's been a franchise kind of actress. She's been in Marvel. She's been in other comic book things. She's obviously in all the Avatar movies. So I think it's going to be a good path for her to sort of maybe gain some leading lady status in some movies, because she doesn't get that very often. I feel like she's always kind of the supporting player in a lot of what she does.
I hope she goes a little bit more indie route and kind of gets more into I don't know, like away from franchise. I mean, she has a lot with Avatar coming out within the next few years, and so I hope that she gets a little bit more like substances.
Yeah. You know who I would like to see her work with, but it's not going to happen because he's only got one movie left, is Quentin Tarantino.
That could be
as a
cool.
badass action girl. Like I know she's
Yeah.
done that again, but like with a twist of Tarantino, I just feel like it
Like
would
a
be
Kill
fun.
Bill character.
Have,
Yeah.
have her toes, feet out.
Well, Liz, whatever you want to watch, that's up to you. I know you love your feet, but so that will do it for us with our coverage of the 97th Annual Academy Awards. Let us know in the comments what were your guys' thoughts on the award show in general, the winners, the losers. What did you guys think on all the big awards, people that you think got snubbed, surprises, all that good stuff? Let us know in the comments. Be sure to give this video a like if you guys can, and subscribe to us here at the Culture Wave Media Network. The countdown officially starts now for the 98th Academy Awards.
Jeez.
We'll be looking forward to all these movies we'll be covering, with the first big one maybe coming next week with Bong Joon-ho's Mickey 17, which we'll be covering next week. Can't wait for that one. We also cover a bunch of other things. Really, we've been heavy in television recently. We're doing Severance. We're covering The White Lotus. We're covering Invincible for animation. I'm getting ready to start covering Daredevil Born Again on Disney Plus. And then, like I said, a lot of the bigger movies aren't going to start hitting theaters until maybe later this month, next month. And then we get into more awards fair kind of later in the year. But we also cover film festivals, and we'll have more news on some of those that we're doing upcoming shortly for you guys as well. You guys can also follow us on social media. We're on Instagram, all that stuff, all the other platforms we're on. It's below me right now in the video and our YouTube description. So be sure to follow us on there if you guys like our content. Just signing off. I am Darian Scalamoni.
I'm Liz Seiko.
I'm Zach Miller.
And we'll see you guys next time.
This is The Culture.